Number 1. A Different World. I was born and raised in a really small town. I figured out I was gay at a really young age. As you know, sometimes, in a small town, it really doesn't help to be gay. They're not always as progressive as the cities. And this one was definitely not progressive. I was afraid to come out because I didn't know anyone else who was gay. When I was in high school, no one was out of the closet. So I was alone. And I honestly believed that I was the only person who was even gay in our town. My parents got me a cell phone, of course. I didn't have any restrictions as to what apps I could buy, and they didn't monitor me. After not having any gay experiences or friends at all, I heard about the Grindr app. Reading about it, it didn't seem like it was a dating app. It actually seemed like it was a sex app and nothing else. But hell, I was a 17-year-old gay male teenage virgin. I was perfectly fine with it being a sex app. I was pretty disappointed when I opened the app up. Yeah, there were people on it, but only 1 or 2 people were in my town, and they were much older than me and not interesting other than that. The next person on the app was like 55 miles away. I got some people messaging me on the app, but they weren't anyone I was interested in. So I have to admit being pretty disappointed in the Grindr app. So when I graduated from high school, I went to college in DeKalb, Illinois, at Northern Illinois University. It was really like walking into an alternate universe. There were so many people at the school on the day I moved in. I was required to live in the dorms the first year and have a roommate. However, my roommate decided not to go to school at the last minute, and I ended up having a double all to myself. The first night there, I wondered what I was going to do. I didn't know anyone at school and wasn't sure how to make friends. And the campus was so lit up though. People were partying everywhere. People were outside. They were littering the campus at night. I had never seen a town, which the campus basically was, so alive at night. I found myself wanting to do something, but I didn't know what. I remember the Grindr app. Suddenly I thought, with all the parties going on, this night might be the best to finally lose my virginity. Hell, there had to be lots of gays here, and they had to be partying and ready to fool around. So I opened up the app, and I was completely shocked by the amount of gay guys on the app. Hell, there was a guy 10 feet away, and that meant he was in the dorm next to me, and that was awesome. I mean, I wasn't interested, but it was neat. I went flipping through the cornucopia of guys in the app and felt myself feeling as if this was definitely going to be the night. And then I got a message from a guy. I checked out his pic and he was gorgeous. Hell, he was a gorgeous blonde twink. His hair dropped over one eye. He asked right away if I wanted to hook up. You know, nowadays, that would be a turnoff. However, that night, it made me want it bad. He was further away than most guys, though, and when I asked him where he was, I found out he was a townie. I almost balked, but I was really horny and really desperate, and he was really cute, so I got directions and decided to take a walk into town. It took a long time for me to find his place. He didn't seem to mind, though. I kept messaging him. As I was walking through the dark town, it was so much quieter than the campus, and nothing was going on in town. He kept sending me sexual messages, doing his best to get me worked up. And it was working, too. I don't want to get graphic, but I had to carry my bag over the front of my jeans while I walked. Finally, I found his town, And it was weird, because all the lights were off in the house too. I looked at the Grindr app and it showed that he was only about 25 feet away. So I guess he was in the house. I asked him why he had all the lights out, and he told me he just wanted to do it in the dark. He told me he was in the foyer, and he was going to take me and just do me right against the wall. That did it. I wanted that, so I went up the hallway to the door. I knocked. He messaged me and told me the door was unlocked. As I opened the door, I was stuck between being really horny and excited and a bit scared and apprehensive. This all just seemed a little weird. I closed the door and he was not in the foyer. I walked into the house and he wasn't there. The app showed he was offline. The hallway was dark. I slowly walked down it. When I was about halfway down the hall, a figure stood in the middle of it. It was dark and I couldn't see it. He was like a shadow. I figured he was getting ready to slam me against the wall. As I was walking down the hallway, someone grabbed me from behind and slammed me hard against the wall. I was shocked, but at first I thought this was part of the fantasy. But then the man down the hall started walking towards us. I hadn't agreed to a threesome. The guy behind me unzipped and unbuttoned my jeans, pushing them down. He told me to step out of them, and I did. I was standing there wearing a pair of blue Andrew Christian briefs. My heart was beating fast. But then I felt something cold against my skin. "Cut it off," the man walking down the hall said. My eyes grew wide as I realized what was downstairs was a knife, and I realized I had been tricked. "Hold still, faggot," the man holding me whispered in my ear. "If you don't, I'm gonna do this slowly." I reacted. I didn't even mean to. I kicked backwards and I missed, but somehow the miss was what helped me. My foot, coming back, knocked up against his ankle and he fell over a bit. My phone and wallet were in my messenger bag on my arm, so I could leave my designer jeans on the floor. He lost his pressure on me, and I was able to run towards the door. The second guy came running at me. I saw him in the hallway mirror. When I got to the front door, he actually got a hold of me. He grabbed my underwear with one hand. I cringed. I felt the knife in my crotch again. I thought I was going to lose my dick, and I never even lost my virginity. I struggled and hit and kicked and stomped in an effort to keep my dick, and in my struggles, my Andrew Christians ripped, and they ripped right off my body, freeing me, and I was able to get out of the door, down the hallway, and onto the sidewalk. The guys came after me, but when I got to the sidewalk and booked it, my dick flapping in the breeze, I got away. I didn't even try to cover it as I ran. When I got back to campus, there were tons of people there, and my nudity was noticed very quickly. I tried covering up with my bag, but someone playfully took it from me. My shirt was quickly removed too, leaving me totally nude. I was telling people that someone was trying to mutilate me, but no one listened. When I finally got my bag back, I took my totally nude body back to my dorm. Everybody was slapping my ass and a few people grabbing my exposed dick as I ran by. For the first time in my life, I felt like a piece of meat. I reported this to the police, and they went to the house, which was empty and for sale. They said these sort of things have happened before, but I was the one who got closest to losing my dick. Fortunately, I didn't, and I eventually got to use it. But I was also teased for a full semester for being naked that night. Number 2. The Grindr. Some people say they wish they could go back in time and change things. Me personally, I think that I wouldn't change anything. Not one single thing. I really believe that we are who we are for the experiences that we have. I feel that every experience I have had is a part of me that I wouldn't trade for anything. When I was a young man, I had a very lonely period in my life. I had some bad breakups and was finding it hard to return to dating. The internet dating thing was still new and fresh, so I gave that a try. I didn't have much luck. Many unreturned messages and flat-out refusals, all for a bad few dates. One night, after a few drinks with a friend, I admitted to him that I was at the point where I just wanted to have sex. In response, he pulled out his new smartphone and showed me something called Grindr, an app that lets you meet nearby guys for anonymous sex. Well, it claims to be a dating app, but you know. The next day, I had bought a $100 phone and was downloading the app. I had 10 messages by the time I sent my first. To be honest, it was mildly flattering, even though several of them were pictures of genitalia, along with some horribly misspelled reference to the treatment of those genitalia. But there was one. The profile picture was a face shot of a charming-looking man with a winning smile. The message read, "Looks like you're close. Want to come hang out a bit and see if we hit it off?" I was overjoyed. He was close enough for a short walk in a good neighborhood, and he seemed saner than most on this Grindr thing. The sun was just setting, and the summer weather was mild and cool. The sidewalks well lit, with the street lamps just coming to life. I stopped by the 7-Eleven on the corner and picked up a pack of cigarettes, some condoms, and a little bottle of super strong mint breath spray. Larry, the older gentleman who was most always on at this time, chuckled and winked at me. "Gonna get lucky?" I just blushed a bit and shrugged. "Here's hoping, I guess." I stood at the corner, just a few houses down, smoking a cigarette, and wondering, could I actually do this? It just felt weird, meeting someone to just have sex. In the end, my desire to get laid won out, though, over my anxiety of the situation. I duffed my smoke and practically doused myself with mint scent. When he answered the door, he was every bit the man that I had seen in the profile pic and more. Tall and handsome. I was taken immediately. We stumbled over an awkward greeting, and he invited me inside. His living room was lovely, with a large coffee table and a matching set of love seat and sofa. He had already set out a bottle of nice brandy and glasses. I really couldn't believe my luck, but when he sat down and offered me to make myself comfortable, I chose to make the first move. I sat next to him on the couch, not quite in cuddle range, but close enough to put the option out there. It was as he was pouring a glass of brandy, blackberry I believe, for me, that I started to feel as though things were going poorly. He seemed stilted and uncomfortable. At first I had put it down to nerves at meeting someone new, but now it was unnerving me. In an awkward silence, I took a sip from my glass and saw the reason for the strange unnerving behavior. I saw in the reflection of the bottle, on the table, a man standing just behind us and slowly creeping closer. Sometimes when things are happening too fast, it seems like your brain kicks into high gear. It felt like I suddenly understood the situation in fluid motion, as if automatic. 2 years of baseball on my elementary school team. I stood, turned, and swung my arm in an underhanded throw, placing the large brandy glass right between the creeper's eyes where it exploded into a shower of glass fragments. He screamed, sounding more angry than hurt, and stumbled back a few steps. Without even thinking, I hurtled over the couch. 4 years on the community swim team, specializing in the breast and butterfly stroke. Landing deftly on my feet with a good lead, I wound up and let fly with a tremendous boot to the assailant's crotch. 4 years of varsity soccer first string fullback that lifted him clear off his feet. He howled, this time in pain. There was a moment that I don't quite remember, as if my brain had to play catch-up with reality. But the next thing I remember, me and that gorgeous guy that I had been so keen on were stomping that creeper like two gang members jumping in a new recruit. Once we got a hold of ourselves and the cops were called, we found out that the creeper had been armed with a mean-looking handgun and had done this twice before. He had murdered his last victims in cold blood after robbing them. I was told that I had definitely made the right decision in defending myself. Me and that gorgeous man are still together years later. Never discount any of your experiences. They may come to your rescue one day. Number 3. Tomboy. Life sucks. Then it gets weird. And my life sucked, and then it got weird. I live just down the block from a graveyard. I could swear that I could smell it, always at sundown. Just a whiff of rot on the evening breeze. I lived in what I like to call a little big city. A place that boomed once with factories and a busy commercial section that met the needs of the co-workers and their families. It was a good place to grow up. The factory owners had baseball fields, parks, even had a part in turning our little hospital into a medical complex. When I saw that monstrosity of steel, concrete, and glass being constructed, I knew I had to become an engineer. I studied hard at the school that the factories helped build. I learned to skate on the skate park that the factory owners constructed. I worked hard at it, and I wasn't too bad. My father worked at the factory. Like me, he worked hard. He started at an entry-level job at a high school, and by the time I was 10, he was running the plant, which built appliances and electronics, and making a very good salary. Then, everything sucked. Several of the factories had been illegally dumping toxic waste into the river that ran through the west side, and burying barrels of dangerous materials all over the city. That skate park they built, the baseball fields, everything was demolished to retrieve the toxic waste. They were fined, and then they left. The factories were shut down, and slowly everything died. Now I'm 25. I am not an architect, I am a cleanliness expert. It means I scrub toilets. I see ghosts every day. Sometimes I think I might be one. I don't have a car. I mostly get around on my skateboard. It's just cheaper. Every day I go past that graveyard and wonder if that's where I'll end up. I felt like it was calling me. As I rolled past the graveyard, I was suddenly shook from my melancholy by an alert from my pocket. I have a very nice phone. It's basically what I spend my money on instead of a car. There was an alert from Grindr. I'd forgot about that app. I had pretty much tapped most of the available guys from there. This was a new guy. I stopped on the side of the road, picked up my board, and sat on a nearby tombstone. I patted the stone and told it, "Don't worry, I'll be joining you soon enough. My job is killing me." I opened up the app, and it told me he was only 1,000 feet away from me. I thought that was really cool. It must be a new guy that just moved in. I hoped I could be the first to welcome him to town, but that would have to wait. I pocketed my phone and rolled on to work, as the last vestiges of the dawn were consumed by the light. While I was on break, I took a look at the guy's profile. His profile pic was sexy as hell, and like most Grindr profiles, it was empty. It showed him offline, so I sent him a quick message with a friend request. I scrubbed toilets, I did a good job. For some reason I still liked to work hard, even though I was going nowhere and everything sucked. As I came up on the graveyard, I pulled out my phone as I cruised. The guy had not replied to my friend request, but he was still showing up in the same place. I watched the distance shrink as I rolled by the graveyard, and it increased again as I turned away towards my block. There was a cluster of houses across the street from the graveyard. Maybe he lived in one of those. My bed called to me as soon as I got home. By bed I mean 2 old futon mattresses stacked on top of each other. But it was soft and I went to sleep. It was on my night off that I heard a notification on my phone again. He was online. I stopped and picked up my board and went to sit on a gravestone that was illuminated by the street light. As I approached the stone idly, looking at my phone, I noticed that the distance had shortened just a bit. He hadn't accepted my request, so I didn't think there was any point in sending him a message. I took a few steps towards the darkness of the deeper cemetery. My phone glowed in the deepening darkness. It was so strange. The distance kept shrinking as I continued. I used the glow of my phone to make sure that I didn't trip over a stone. At about 80 feet, I suddenly realized what I was doing. I was alone in a dark graveyard, following the phone to God knows what. Hopefully, alone. I activated the flashlight on my phone. The powerful LED lit up the night, and I quickly scanned the area. There didn't appear to be anyone nearby, but I realized that there were a lot of places to hide. I was really scared now. I'd felt drawn on the way in, but now I wanted to run so bad that I was paralyzed. My phone dinged with an alert again. Tomboy has accepted your friend request. I lost it. I ran to a tall grave marker, turned on my phone's flashlight and hid. There was a moment of silence. Then my phone dinged. Then it dinged again. And again. My terror reached levels I had never experienced. I looked at the screen of my phone. Message after message from Tomboy. Nothing but a period in each one. And then I saw the distance had shrunk to 0. It was as if I was out of my body. My head turned against my will to look at the large granite marker. Thomas Boyle. His death. 5 days ago. My heart stopped, and I felt something touch me, not physically, but someplace inside. Something dark and terrible. My flight reflex finally kicked in and I ran. I tripped, ran into gravestones, but I made it to the street in record time and in one piece. I didn't turn my phone on for a day. When I did drum up the courage to turn it on again, Tomiboi was gone. The app said his account had been removed. I don't feel right these days. I don't look into what happened, and I take a longer route to avoid that graveyard. I'm scared. Hey y'all, Killer Orange Cat here. Well, this is my first completely gay-themed video. I was surprised, actually, that I was able to get 3 stories that fit the topic. I hope you enjoyed it, though. If you'd like to read print versions of these stories, please check them out in the Killer Orange Cat subreddit, in the link provided in the description. There's also a link there for the Killer Orange Cat merchandise store that is a separate store from the one that appears under the video. In the meantime, if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please consider hitting the subscribe button below, or using the icon of Ichigo the cat that will appear at the end of this closing. Feel free to leave me a comment to let me know what you think of the video, and consider sharing it with someone you think might enjoy it. You can always follow Ichigo and myself on Facebook and Twitter using the links provided in the description. My main requirement: if you have a story you like narrated on Killer Orange Cat, please send it to the address provided in the description. My main requirement is that the story is original, meaning it has not yet been read on any other YouTube channel. I hope you're having a great time, and please don't forget to make sure to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a Killer Orange Cat might be hiding. And good night.